Hello. Hello, hello. I am just going to give everyone a few minutes to turn up, being 8 o'clock just now. Hope everybody's doing well. Also, please let me know if there seems to be any technical issues aside from the slight delay in my voice. That won't matter once I'm over there painting. little delay is annoying, but can't really, can muck around with it a little bit, but yeah, should be alright. Hopefully you can hear me. Hey Rebecca, how are you? How you going? Whereabouts are you? There we go, good stuff. In Melbourne, that's good. Out of lockdown. Bet that was a nightmare for you. But, down here in Hobart, we freaked out. It was probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We had a lockdown. We went into a snap lockdown for 3 days, and it near killed everybody. No, it's been a good old crazy time, but it's all right. We're all going all right. G'day, Olivia. How you going? Just waiting for eyeballs to show up before I start. Yeah, let's have a look. What have you guys been painting? What have you been into? You've been painting much? Have you discovered any new materials, new funky things you've been going crazy with? Yeah, it's good. Mitchell Pearce left the Knights, which is good. I'm a massive Knights tragic, and it'll be a good move, I reckon. Watercolours and gouache, that's cool. Good stuff. Excellent. Cover your mistakes up with gouache, that's alright. It's good. Alright. Alright, let's get cracking on. So this demonstration that I want to do this evening is it's kind of, I just want to remind everybody to make sure they're in, this will sound really pretentious and wanky, but just remind everyone to get, to stay in touch with their artistic expression, I suppose, their artistic vision, if you like. I think too often we sort of lose that spontaneity and that freedom, especially with watercolours. It benefits so much from just letting fly and letting it rip, rather than being stifled and stiff and rigid. So I just want to remind everybody, take this demonstration, it'll be an informed demonstration, so it won't be a proper tutorial as such. Okay, so I'm not going to sit there and say I've got burnt sienna or I've got this. I'll do, I'll mention things here and there. But I want to remind everyone what watercolour can do when you just let it do things. That's all. Simple. But a lot of us forget it. You know, myself included, everybody. We just forget and we become too tight and we try and just push it. You know, control it too much. Whereas we don't need to. We really don't. And I don't want anyone to be stifled by their references and or their natural want to replicate something and duplicate something rather than express yourself with it. Always use a reference as a I always say jumping off point. That's it's just a phrase that works for me, is that you respond to it. We're always painting a response to our reference, whether it's a photo or whether it's real life, doesn't matter. It's a response to it. That thing that you're painting, whether it's a photo or not, it already exists in exactly the form that it's in. So how about we try and push the envelope a bit and actually throw in some creativity, Remember when we were kids, we'll see how kids paint. I had a loosey-goosey workshop on the weekend, and a big focus of that was getting in touch with this creativity and creative side of us and our arty-fartiness, if you want. So, and I said that, don't try and, not that we want childlike results as such, we want to strive for something a bit more sophisticated than that, but we want that childlike approach and the expression. Just go for it. I think I used the analogy the other day. If you say to a kid, draw a sun for me, they'll go, circle, a couple of lines off it, there's your sun. No fiddle farting around. Hello to those few extra people that have turned up. Who's there? Talk to me. I'm lonely. All right, just joking. All right, let's have a look. I'm going to go over to this scene. Now, what I want to do here is I'm not going to shade my palette. I'm deliberately so, okay? It's not a proper in-depth tutorial, as I was saying. It's going to be a kick-ass little demo. So let's have a look. Now, like I always say, my these workshops, these tutorials and demos on YouTube are always free to participate in. Please paint along if you like. Please watch it back. You can watch it back later on. Whatever you want to do is cool by me. And I'll never make you pay for it. I never want to with these things, because on YouTube, part of my YouTube channel. But if you do get something out of it and you would like to contribute to keeping the pirate ship afloat, keep me making more videos, then greatly appreciated and very much accepted, and with great humility, and I appreciate it. But no pressure. Just if you want to, no problems. Thank you very much. All right. So let me have a look. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to come over here to the paper. Now I'm just going to change microphones so I don't have to yell at you. Won't be a sec. Who else is watching? Talk to me, people. Write your notes and write your name in the comments. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you are. And talk to me. Let's make it fun. All right. So over here at the paper, and that helps when you're painting to have paper. And yeah, should be fine. Should be good. Yep, definitely working. Cool. So everyone can hear me okay? Now, I'm just going to make up a scene, okay? I'm not really wanting to go nuts with detail or anything like that. I want to let fly, and show you some techniques and talk you through my thoughts about watercolor medium. Let's let loose with it. All right, let's do it. Make up a scene. Here we go. I'm going to do something kind of like I did a few weeks ago. There's another scene that I made up. Worked out really nicely for this kind of expression. Let's go. If anyone's a Sopranos fan, the episode called Pine Barrens, which I loved, and my good mate and student James Soretta keeps me on the Sopranos thing. I hadn't seen Sopranos until fairly recently, and he's a tragic, which is good, and I'm on my second watch through now. But great show. But there's this episode, they're walking around the snow. It's called Pine Barrens. They're walking around the snow, and yeah, hijinks ensues. It's very cool. But let's have a look. Let's just create a bit of a horizon for some trees. Let's go up here somewhere. Does not really matter. Just putting a few things down. Now remember, I'm making this up. Like I've got a rough idea in my head where I want it to go, but I'm not referring to a particular scene. So there's that creativity. Now I want some sort of water, some sort of stream, river, creek, whatever. Dawson's Creek even. We can call this one Dawson's Creek. Let's come in, give it a bit of depth. Not too much. Like we don't want to mess around with it majorly. So we want the snow surface to be pretty prominent. Okay, so this is just a rough shape. That's all I'm getting at there. And there's a big tree, whatever. And I'm going to let it evolve as we paint. As I paint through, I'm going to let it evolve, and I'm going to respond to what's happening on the paper. So I've got my rough idea. That's all. It's a rough idea. I don't like the look of that at the moment. So, just mess around with it until you like the shape. That's fine. That just needs to be a little bit. Yeah, whatever. That's cool. It'll work out how it works out. Don't be a slave. Don't be a slave to your reference. Use your imagination. Okay. So that's the drawing. All right, that's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's just going to be that funny looking thing, which might might do something. I don't know, but we'll see how we go. The plan is to have a nice, fairly wet scene. I'm going to put a lot of soft trees and things back there, and I'll show you how I'll do that. If anyone's got any questions as we go through, fire away, please do. Write in your comments, and if anyone else is there and haven't said hello yet, please don't be rude, say hello, come on. Don't be rude, you buggers. I'm just joking. No, it's good. I want to know you're there, tell me. Okay, so water. Let's do this. Let's go big brush. Just water. Boop-a-doo. I'm not cutting around that tree. It might move. I might put it somewhere else. You never know. Not cutting around it. But I want lots of water, but I don't want it in this. See, this is all snow here. So this is my vision that I've got is lots of white on this, a lot of white paper left. So you don't want to spread all the water down here because you're going to end up with paint flowing down when I want to control that area a little bit more. That's all. So lots of water there. Let's pick a colour. I'm going to start with something wacky. Good. Something equally wacky as well. So this darker blue that I'm putting in is, which might do some of the water with, is the Paris blue that's in my Schminky palette. and it's really nice for. It's a mixture of phthalo and Prussian blue, so it's really nice for getting those. It's strong. It's strong as anything, but if you use a little bit of it and mellow it out with a lot of water, it goes like it's a really nice sort of sky blue colour. But just going a bit nuts with it here with stuff. So this darker colour I'm putting in there is Daniel Smith's Moon Glow, and that's all I'm doing. Just let's go straight across. Why not? There we go. Then, let's put another thing in, whatever that is, something. All got the same big brush. Bit more Moon Glow. And let's have a look. Let's do a bit of that around that surface. Ooh, it's strong, that's good. That's what we want. We want to get some depth. That's why we start with that light colour and the light tone. Add some extra tone in there as it comes forward, and it sort of pushes everything back. But don't go crazy. Don't cover the whole thing in. What I'm going to do here is do a bit of a Mr. Squiggle. Upside down, Miss Jane. And just got a spray bottle. I'm actually going to tilt it up quite a way. I want a fair bit of this to run, and just do something crazy for a second. Yeah. And the thing is, when I turn it back up again, the water that's run down here will fall back into this the top of this painting. And that's cool, because it means that I'm going to get some other marks and other sections of the painting, other effects happening for free. It's great. I love it. So let's go with a rigger. It's all wet in wet stuff, okay? All wet in wet. Let's go with a rigger brush and just some water. Clean rigger brush. We'll see what happens. The idea is that we're putting clean rigger that's sort of mopping up or soaking up a little bit of the pigment that's on there, and leaving behind marks that are a bit softer and a bit nicer. And I'm just sort of going a bit gung-ho with that. Might be a bit wet to take full effect. That's all right. Let's come down into this little bit. This little bit being the snow and all of that. So I've got just water and not much else. A little bit. You don't want to cover all of your paper. You want to keep a lot of white paper in snow scenes. Probably fairly obviously. And I'm splashing water around. It's going to give me some nice little ticky-tickies, little bitty bits up here. There we go. Ah, that's great fun. Look at it. It's already starting to come to life. So, getting this Paris blue. I want this Paris blue to do some damage in a good way. It's very strong pigment. Just doing its thing. It's good fun. Bit of ultra. Hell, bit of burnt sienna. Just establish the lips of that there. There you go. I'm still just using my imagination, but I know that just there needs to be a little bit of a lip on that side. Anything facing us is going to have a bit of a bank. That'll just help develop a little bit of depth. And let's do that there. You're all very quiet. Talk to me. Talk to me in the messages, in the comments. Come on. You're very quiet. You're gone shy. You're just watching in absolute awe. Just joking. Yeah. Water surface. Put some horizontals in there. All right, good stuff. All right, who we got? Talk to me. Put your say hello in the comments. I want to talk to you. Now, while this is wet, you can see it's sort of starting to do some things up here, which is good. What I also want to do is, while it's wet, I want to exploit that a little bit more. Okay. Let's have a look. And I'm just going to do that with some water. That's all. I'm just going to spray some more water around and we'll go nuts from there. All right. Okay, so I've just got some water on the fingertips. Now this is starting to dry off a little bit. It'll accept this water and it'll stay put a little bit more than it did when it was satched. In fact, I might just dry it off a little bit more. I'll just mute the mic so you don't have to listen to this thing. Didn't want to dry it off too much. Just want to dry it off so that I'll splash a bit more and you'll start to notice, you can see the spottiness and stuff going on. It's good. All right, let's do the same everywhere. Splash it around. Let's do it. You start to watch and you start to notice watercolour doing some cool things. Now, what I want to do here, I'm going to start introducing some thicker paint into the trees, the background. So let's have a look colour-wise. What have I got? I've got a bit of Alvaro Castanet's Cool Grey, the Fresco Grey. And it's a bit thicker. Says, G'day Praveen, how are you? I've just got the Tom Shaler Neef brush, but I'm holding it right at the very end. So I've got no discernible control over it. Okay, I'm just doing sort of up and down marks and see what gets left behind. See, you want to relinquish control a bit. So you'll start getting things that look amazing. Like, look at that bit there. That looks like a real soft tree next to a harder tree, a darker tree. Didn't paint any of it, just put it on and letting it go. So it will do things for you if you let it. Some slightly different colours. Introduce a couple of warmer colours here. And because there's water everywhere, it's just gonna run and do some stuff. I love it. One thing you got to remember when you're painting anything, composition-wise, where you make your marks is obviously very important. So try and keep things off kilter, off balance. I'm not covering the entire row of that distance there to, be nice and neat and tidy. In fact, what I've just discovered upon keeping my eyes open while I'm painting is that I really like this bit. I really like that. I didn't plan that little bit of a distance. It looks like a path leading through. But you know what? I like it, so I'm going to leave it. That's good. And these little bushes have helped bring that out. You know, just keep your eyes peeled. Go in with a bit of a plan, but be very open to suggestion. When watercolour starts telling you its own story, you bloody well listen, and you'll end up with a better painting. Promise. Right, cool. Now, what I want to do is I want to dry it off completely. So what I'm going to do now is mute the microphone. I'm going to dry it off, but when I'm drying it, you'll see I'm going to be splashing as it dries and gets a bit drier. I'm just going to splash little bits again, just little flickies of water, just to see it start to settle in and make a couple of marks. That's all. I really like this. Look at these marks here that have happened. Unreal. Watercolour. Bloody love it. Won't be long, but it'll go silent for a second, but I'm here, okay? Talk to me. Ask me questions in the meantime. Go for it. So you can see that it's starting to, as I've started to dry it off, it's settling down a bit. The colours are being a little bit muted down. They're not as strong and vibrant as they were or as they are when they're wet. All completely normal and a good thing. So what I'm thinking, I'm looking through this composition. Look, this composition, let's not kid ourselves. It's a very easy, basic composition. Chosen deliberately because I want you to see that it's not about complexity. It's not always about complexity to gain a good painting, okay? It's watercolour is at its best when it's loose and fancy free and direct, okay? So as you can see, there's nothing being fussed over here. It's letting it do. And half of the effect in this already is just letting it go. Like, look, that's just water making these marks, that's all. But, you know, keeping our eyes open, we saw this little path leading through. That was good. I like that. You know, we've got to keep our eyes peeled. So starting to refine it and think what we need. Obviously, we need a bit of depth and a bit more interest. So what I'm going to do is, with a damp brush, I want this tree here, as I was looking at it before. So just as an effect, it's not really an effect, it's just so we can make it look quite nice. I've just painted that with water and just lift it out a bit, that's all, with dry tissue. And let's get some paint into that. Let's start off with some burnt sienna. And look, even though I've just dried that off. It's still a little bit damp, but it's not running everywhere. So I'm using thickish paint. Probably could have done with some more of that actually, but that's all right. We'll make do. Make do. A bit of orange there. Now, it's not going to stay orange. I'm not going to keep it just this flat, warm colour. But just to start the ball rolling, that's fine. And you know, I really like this little bit of softness there. So I'm just going to keep that. It's a bit of a tree. Look, point of the brush. Get yourselves pointy brushes, people. I can't stress that enough. And look, in this case, the light's coming from wherever you want at the moment. It's your scene, you're making it up. So, but pick a side. Don't put it everywhere. So I'm sort of picking the left-hand side, so the light will be coming from this way. And use thick paint. See what happens when you use thicker paint? It just starts to soften and blend in, and it's great. Love it. As you come down to places like, you know, where it's sitting on the ground or whatever, it's good in any sort of treescape. When you're putting trees in, make sure they're sitting on the ground. Make sure they're not. I see it all the time when trees just abruptly stop. They don't have them sitting down, so it makes sense. Now, working pretty quickly. We want to keep that path, better remember that. Where else do I want? I want something. Let's put something about there. It's fine, just a little thing. That's all. You can see as we put these trees and branches and whatnot in, it'll start to gain momentum, it'll gain depth, and you'll get a bit more of an interesting picture. So that's cool. Let's just do that. Yep. Nice. All right. Water. Let's spray something. Just for a laugh. Why not? See what happens. See that softening out quite nicely. See? Watercolour. Make sure you remember water. Water, water. Okay, let's do... Yep, let's do this. I just want to get some darker stuff coming through there. So there's going to be a reflection of this tree, which is good. Do. So there, I've just got the brush on its side and just going, scraping it down, having a bit of a laugh. That's it. Some dark paint. Let's just reinforce that bank, that little creek bank there. You know what? You don't have to reinforce the stuff at the back so much. You know, give that perspective and that atmospheric perspective, tonal perspective. You know, the stuff at the front, keep quite strong. Stuff at the back, lighten it up. Got to remember those kind of things as you paint. All right. Just want to get rid of the stripy look there. Should I put a figure in it? I reckon. Now, before I do that though, I'm just got this really long-haired rigger. It's an Anders Anderson signature brush by Neef. It's really good. Fun for lots of foliage and not foliage, like rigging, obviously, but branches and things. And it's pretty stiff, and you can't really make precise marks with it, which is exactly what you want. So you don't want that. You want nice, expressive marks. Be really careful not to lose that depth. You know, that branch just came along just from the brush. Let's do one out this way. Yeah. Just makes it a little bit more interesting, you know. It's not just there for a laugh. It just gives us a bit more stuff to look at and a bit gnarlier looking. Love it. You know, see how it's got that depth there already. You know, it's getting more and more depth as I sort of put little bits in there, and this branch went over the front of the tree. These branches, they're just making it a lot more, well, realistic, for want of a better word. It's good fun. Love it. Just try and just do little wispy bits. It's strange down here in Tassie. So we're how many days? Almost a fortnight away from summer, and we've got snow. It's crazy. I love it though. Love it. Love every second of it. See all these little bits that I'm throwing on. It's just splattering. See, boom, 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 boom. All those little bits are just splattering and getting on there. It's just giving us a bit more of an interest, a bit more of an atmosphere in the piece. You know, just with a bit of a tissue there, just scraping the line out, gives us a bit more of a mirror kind of look. It's cool. The important thing is when you do these things in watercolour, when they go through and you're making these changes and adjustments and you're seeing something cool, is to leave it. You go, that happens, absolutely leave it. That's the beauty of watercolour, is taking advantage of its spontaneity. That's what we lose when we start painting tight. We just get all stiff and horrible. So you don't want that shit. You want nice, loose, free-flowing watercolours. That's our goal. Whether we're painting a scene like this, or a streetscape, or a country landscape, we need to have economy of brush strokes. 100%. I'm just going to dry this off again, 100%, and so it's dry. And I'll probably put a couple of little figures in, and maybe some highlights. And I think we'll be right. It's going to be a good example of what we're talking about. So I'll just put this on silent for a sec. All right.
So a couple of things have happened as it's dried off and as I'm just casting my eye over the picture, which you should always do. Always keep an eye on what's going on your paper. And you make decisions when you're painting. You go through, if you're in touch with it and you're observant, you'll make some decisions along the way. So what we need to do is assess things, see how it's going, and do we need to change anything, modify things, anything you didn't plan but looks cool, anything you didn't plan that doesn't look cool, and you just adjust accordingly. So, for example, this edge here, it's really soft, and so the natural tendency is to want to define it somehow. I want to define it so it's. I need to spell it out. I need people to make sure they know it's a creek or something. They know. And this looks cool. It's a soft edge. It's a lost edge there. It's great. So you've got to be careful of that stuff and be mindful, rather, of that stuff. And keep it, whatever you do. So I'm going to whack a couple of figures in. Let's just we'll get the shapes in first. Maybe a dad playing with his kid or something like that. Put the dad over here, I reckon. And I might change the location of the kid. He might be over here somewhere. There's a few people there. We'll put three people in, but they're doing all sorts. And let's put little Johnny over here. Little Johnny's head's going to be bigger because he's a kid. Maybe looks like he's picking up a snowball or something there. So all of a sudden, just with a couple of figures and very limited detail, they're suggestions of figures, let's be fair. But with even that very small amount of information, it transforms the picture. It gives it life and movement, and all of a sudden you've got a couple of people off balance. Little Johnny looks like he's about to pick up a snowball or something and hoik it at his parents. It's good fun. But what I want to do, they're quite dark, obviously. I'm just making sure they're not too transparent. I don't want that too much for the figures. Now, one thing I do want are a little bit of shadows. So shadows are coming from this way. So I'm going to embellish that down here a bit in a second with the tree. But in fact, let's just do it now. I'll pick up a bit of blue, a bit of grey really. And we're not casting too much of a shadow. There'll be something going over the water a little bit, but that's all right. So it's not too strong. I don't want it too strong because it'll detract from things, I think. It'll distract the eye. But there are a couple of things in. We can shadow there. Shadow from the figures is good. And it's just, it doesn't need much. It's just a little shadow. That's cool. What I want to do, I want some red in here because red always draws the eye and that's good fun. So I'm going to give little Johnny a bit of a beanie, I reckon. That's good. Maybe a scarf over there. Just a bit of something, that's just Holbein colour called Horizon Blue. Maybe Johnny's got a striped shirt on or whatever. Cool. And I think all we really need there now is something outlandish. It's a yellow hat for Dad. Just a couple of little suggestions of colour, and that gives it a bit of life without detracting from it. I always say, a sort of joke, you don't want your paintings to look like a Crayola caddy's just thrown up all over it. You want them to be cohesive and have some colour harmony going on. What I'm going to do is just quickly dry this off, and we'll finish it off with some highlights, and we'll take the tape off and check it out. But won't keep you a second while I dry this off. All right, so let's have a look. Now we definitely need highlights, and we also need, I think, a bit of white paint on the trees here and there to suggest some snow clinging. Now I've just got some white watercolour. It's just titanium white watercolour paint. It's not gouache or anything. So even if you are a snobby so-and-so and think you can't use gouache or white paint, then you're wrong. So a couple of highlights on the heads of the figures and shoulders. We'll put a highlight on Johnny there. Yeah, a couple of little bits. Because, the snow's going to fall on some of these branches and just kind of stay put. So we need a few little highlights, to bring it together, just to make sure that realism, for want of a better term, is captured a bit. Okay. Now, I'm almost done. But what I'm going to do is paint scraper, palette knife, credit card, whatever you want. Got it, and I've just got some white paint here in the palette that you can't see, but white paint, and it's just straight. It's not diluted or anything like that. And here, what we can do, at least with this closer tree, you can actually suggest some form of the tree. So I'm not going to do heaps of it, but if you just grab it and sort of scrape it a bit, you can sort of start suggesting some form. Yeah, possibly a bit much, but that's okay. And you're better off if this goes on and it's too much, or you think it was more than what you were hoping was going on, just leave it. It'll look better. As it dries, it'll look fine, because there's a lot of white paper around here, so the white will settle quite nicely. But it'll look worse if you try and get rid of it all. So that's all fine there. A little bit over here, and you can put a couple of trees in with your little scraper if you want. Couple of dots, and scrapies, away you go. So it adds a little bit of extra life to it. So don't be afraid of using white. Just, there are tricks. You don't use heaps of it, and you know, like I did there, but that's okay. That works because it's snow. It's not in the middle of a, you know, I haven't painted a white van in a street scene, for example. So it works with the snow, as a snow. But as long as there's lots of paper around, lots of white paper, you're laughing. I think that'd just about do us up for our demo. So a massive reminder for people just to loosen up, use watercolour, use its intrinsic value to exploit that stuff. Exploit it. The fact that it runs and makes cool marks and does all these funky things, exploit that. Make it a thing. You don't have to control it. Try not to. It's better if you don't. And relinquish some of that control so that you're able to get fresher results. And what we want from those results is something a bit more interesting and a bit more characteristic. Something that's not simply a cutout or a drawing or a colouring in. Too many times we see watercolours that are just people. They're just colouring in. You know, you'll see people do a massive drawing that's just a tracing off a transfer or a projector or something like that, and they'll just colour it in. It's crazy. It's a waste. It's a waste of painting with watercolour. But you know, to each their own. I get all that. I'm, you know, being a little bit tongue in cheek about it all, but you've got to do it. Why wouldn't you? If you want to paint boring, stiff, rigid things, then you know, do that by all means. But I don't know why you want it. And I just need to put a little bit of something on there. It's good fun, good fun. Does anybody have any questions? Everyone's been very quiet this evening. I just want to make sure everyone's okay and you're awake and I haven't put you to sleep. Or if I have and you're suffering from insomnia, then that's good. Hopefully that's helped. And as I was saying at the start, please don't feel pressured or obligated to donate. These are just suggestions, if you like. No pressure whatsoever. And thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions before I sign off? This is me waiting for questions to see if they come up. It's crazy, mate. It was Olivia, yeah, definitely. You need to loosen up, absolutely. Loosey-goosey. Snow scenes are actually a really good way to practice that because there are so many things you can do, like splashies and scrapies and all of that stuff. So that's nice. All right, if you do have any questions, you'll still be able to put a comment on the video below. Oh, g'day. G'day, Sharon. Excellent. Yeah, you will, for sure. For sure. Yeah, do it. You've got to. It's just wrong if you don't. Life's short. You got to paint. But no, thank you very much. And you can, as I say, you can comment on the video if you do have any questions. I look forward to that, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.